Last night I went to UCLA again to see more Dorothy Arzner films, and I saw two that I had not seen before. One was called Craig's Wife, which is from a play written by George Kelly, who is the uncle of Grace Kelly. And I've actually seen another version of it from 1950 starring Joan Crawford, where it was called Harriet Craig. And there's a few changes between the two versions, so I'm not sure which is more accurate to the film, to the original play. There's also a 1928 version starring, I can't remember who the actress is, but the husband is played by Warner Baxter, and I love Warner Baxter, so I feel like I need to try to find that. But anyways, in this version, it was Rosalind Russell and John Bowles as the two main characters, and it's about a woman who doesn't really believe in marriage in a romantic sense, but only sees it as a way for women to gain independence. A woman who has no skill to gain independence. And so she marries in order to have her house and to have her house the way she wants it. And to train her husband to be the way she wants him to be so that she has the life she wants. And it's kind of a cruel story, and she's a cruel woman, and she drives everyone nuts. But I think because Dorothy Arzner did this version, and it was written by Mary McCall, I think the two of them sort of found a lot of the humanity in Harriet and brought out the desperation of her and how this is all she knows about life, and she doesn't trust anybody because of the way her father was. And so the psychological truths of why she is the way she is really come through in this version. And it's also very critical of why people get married in period, which I think shows up a lot in Dorothy Arzner's canon. So I don't think she was one who really believed in heterosexual marriage. So it's interesting to look at her filmography from that viewpoint and see how often she's so critical of both the concept of marriage and the limitations that women face, and how it's not, if women behave in such a way that people dislike, it's not necessarily the women's fault. It's the way society has caused them to be. And I think Arzner's really interested in exploring how society shapes the way women behave. And this is definitely one of those films that fits into that idea. Which then brings us to the other one I watched, which was Christopher Strong, which stars Katharine Hepburn and Colin Clive, who's from Frankenstein and also The Worst, Mr. Rochester ever. And the screenplay is by Zoe Atkins, who has written a lot of great old Hollywood screenplays, but it's from a book by Gilbert Frankow, and which I thought was interesting from both of these stories is that they're stories about women that don't actually have the woman's name in the titles. They have the man's name in the titles, written by men that are then transposed into screenplays by women, directed by Dorothy Arzner. It's fascinating. In this one, it's about like a man who is like the one man who's never cheated on his wife, and then a woman who is the one person over 20 who's still a virgin and has never had a love affair. And they meet, and obviously, because it's Hollywood and fiction storytelling, they fall in love. And so the Colin Clive character is going to cheat on his wife for the first time. His wife, played by the exquisite Billie Burke, who was in both films, actually. And then Hepburn, who is an aviatrix in this, and a once rich lady who is now sort of not so rich, but she's doing like aviation challenges to try to build her fortune back up, is finally gonna fall in love. And it's pre-code, it's 1933, so there's some racy bits. And they're interestingly filmed. Like the scene where they first sleep with each other, they don't actually show them sleeping. It's just her hand like touching a side table lamp late at night, and then he's talking and having a conversation, and it's like, oh my god, they're in bed. They just had sex, and they're showing this. Oh god, like I love pre-code. But obviously, then shenanigans happens because she becomes pregnant, and his daughter's pregnant, and he needs to be a grandfather and a husband to his wife again. But then it's like, what about her? And the thing that didn't work for me in this play, or in this film, was that if this character is such a strong woman that she like has flown around the world by herself and is doing all these great aviation things, I feel like she's the kind of tough society breaking woman that she would, or society defying woman that she would probably have raised a child on her own, and said fuck it, and spoiler alert, I'm spoiling the end of this movie. She flies trying to break the altitude record, and then decides to kill herself so that he won't be shamed. And it's just terrible. She regrets it right after she does it too, which I think is very telling. It's like in the midst of her memories, she thinks that it's worth losing her life to save him, but then after she does it, she realizes, oh, I fucked up, and then but it's too late. And I wonder if that's in the book too, where she realizes that she's fucked up. I don't really like Katharine Hepburn as an actress. It's very rare that I see her in a film and I'm like, yes, she's great. I love her. And I know she's like the greatest heralded actress of the, old Hollywood, but I just don't dig her. This was a very strange movie. It had a whole lot going on in it, and it had the moderns. It's from 1932, but the actress, the daughter character, seemed very like roaring 20s sort of bright young thing, kind of English young rich person. But I guess this was adapted right after. I don't know. I just feel like it was preposterous. It might have made more sense if someone other than Colin Clive was playing the dude, because I can't picture anybody ever killing themselves over Colin Clive. I just can't. He's just not magnetic enough for me to believe it. Like if it was Claude Rains or somebody, I could buy it. But so those were the films. I'm going to see a few more before the series ends at UCLA in September. Again, this was Craig's Wife from 1936 and Christopher Strong from 1933, both directed by Dorothy Arzner. And I saw them at UCLA. And I think Christopher Strong, is available from Warner Archive. Let's look this up. I'm pretty sure that it is, because I feel like I've seen it. I haven't seen it, but I've seen it in the collection. Let's double check. Maybe I'm making this up. Yeah, Christopher Strong's available from the Warner Archive, and The Bride Wore Red, which I've seen and is also great. And it's the finale one they're showing is Dance Girl Dance and The Bride Wore Red. And I have not seen Dance Girl Dance, so I'm excited to see that. And The Bride Wore Red is one of my favorite Joan Crawford films. It is so good. It has Franchot Tone in it, Robert Young. It's a good movie. This kitten's going crazy, and I have to go drink some coffee. So that is Dorothy Arzner. I don't know if Craig's Wife is available anywhere, but the print I saw was really great, so hopefully maybe someday.